Hello everyone, this is Alberto from the London Contemporary School of Piano, and today we're going to talk about ragtime. What you just heard is a little extract from one of my favorite ragtime of all time. This was Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin. Today we're going to look at the starting techniques to improvise and play ragtime effectively. The piano techniques, also composing techniques. Clearly, Scott Joplin is the reference composer for this, and we're going to look at the fundamentals. Effectively, I'm going to show you all you need to know to play ragtime piano. But let me just say, before I continue, if you love what we're doing at the London Contemporary School of Piano, make sure you head onto our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com. You will find a free resource kit that has material from our tutorials and a lot of other cool and musical stuff as well. So let's start from fundamental principle that ragtime piano has the quality of being rhythmical and dance-like. Effectively, you should think of ragtime piano as a style that emerged when pianists were engaged in maybe public places to take to substitute a full band, and in those public places where they were dancing and drinking and laughing, you will have the necessity, the request to play a lot of rhythmic music. That's why, while the right hand of a ragtime piece will play melody and chords, the left hand will be constantly engaged into delivering the rhythm. I consider the left hand in this style the entire rhythm section, meaning bass and drums. Let's look into the details of this left hand. Let's take as an example two chords, the chords of C and the chords of G. I'm going to play them with two hands first, and then later on we're going to put it all together into one hand pattern. So my voicing for C major is this, one note in the bass and a 3 notes chord. And my other voicing for G major is this, one note in the bass and 3 notes in the chords. So this is pretty straightforward. And what I'm going to do is in my bass part, I'm going to go from the tonic to the dominant and stay in C major. That's also pretty straightforward. I'm going to do the same, tonic and dominant in the chord of G. Okay? This is also pretty straightforward. Notice that the bass part takes on the two most important notes of the chord, the root and the fifth, the tonic and the dominant. This happens in both chords. Now I'm going to play 2 bars of C and 2 bars of G. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. This sounds good, but not good enough. Effectively, you probably heard it already. There was a little hiccup in the bass part. That hiccup that you heard is the repetition of the note G. Yes, it does repeat at the end, between the end of the second bar and the beginning of the third. So what I'm going to do is to change the order of the tonic and the root for the chord of G. I'm going to start with the fifth. The result is right. This is better. Okay, now let's move this pattern into the right hand. This is not easy. You need a bit of practice and accuracy, so do it slowly. And here are a couple of tips for you. So you're probably, if you've never done this before, your instinct will tell you to play the triad up here with this fingering, 1, 2, and 5, and the next with 1, 3, and 5. I discourage that because every time you replace the pinky from the bass note up to the middle range chord, you are actually replacing the whole hand and requiring you to do a bigger jump than if you were to play with finger 4. In this case, for example, look at my pinky. My pinky is hovering over the note E, and the jump is smaller than this. You can see that. 4 looks easier than 5. Okay, so in this way, I want to choose for my upper chord fingering every finger other than 5. This will allow my hand to be open and to reach easier the notes that I need. Notice that technique-wise, if you're looking from the top camera, you see that I am selecting 1 and 5 out of the hand position, and then I'm selecting 1, 2, and 4. 1 and 5, 1, 2, 4. But the hand position stays fundamentally the same. Is a lateral movement that I'm interested in developing instead of a hand position change. Okay, now let's look at the chord of G, and this is even easier because the first one occupies a full octave between D and D. So the best fingering for me would be 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Roll with it a little bit, and before we add the right hand, let's turn this bass into an octave. You would be inclined probably to do this already, but this is a lot of work, and I'm not even sure it's the most appropriate one. So for now, let's stick to a higher octave. And practice your switch between 2 chords. Okay? Repeat this pattern over sequences of 2 chords. You can definitely look into other options too, for example, C to F or F to G, or chords in other keys as well. It's very important that even slowly, but you mechanize this pattern. This is one note on the time signature of Ragtime. A lot of Ragtime of Scott Joplin are in 2/4. Is not very common in jazz, but it was common in the typical in the music that are typical of this time period in America. And so 2/4 effectively occupies a place of 2 beats with 2 syncopations, and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and so I'm saying this because in my right hand I want to just fill in with the same triads on the main beats of the bar. Let's do that. C major and G major. C and G. Seems pretty straightforward. Notice that the goal here is not speed nor improvisation, but consistency, regularity. As a pianist, you need to feel that this rhythmic coordination, hand coordination, is completely under your control. Okay. Now, let's do a little bit of rhythms in the right hand, syncopations. Syncopations mean not only the end of beat 1 and 2, which will be together with the left hand chord, but also in between them. So something like this. This is the note in between. But before I continue, let me just say that what I love about working with the London Contemporary School of Piano is meeting students such as yourself, passionate and creative about music. So if you want the opportunity to work one-to-one with me, head on to our website, fill out the form, and tell us a little bit about yourself, your musical journey. We would love to hear from you and organize some classes. But let's continue with the topic of today. Now I'm gonna play my right hand chord in beats, syncopations, and the syncopation of the syncopation. We notice something here. If you come from the classical piano world, like myself, you recognize by doing this practical exercise, this starting exercise on Ragtime, that the nature of this music is rhythmical. Yes, you are playing some lines in the left hand, some bass lines, and we are going to be looking at melodic lines too in the right hand. But we're talking about a rhythmic coordination between the hands, as if you were a drummer. So the left hand keeps a steady beat like this, and the right hand interplays, syncopation, syncopated, and invents. So, which is similar to what drummers do. Now let's turn each of the right hand chords into broken chords, or something like. And perhaps involving even larger positions or different inversion. You see, this is very good exercise, maintaining a stable pattern in the left hand and starting improvising rhythmically in the right hand. There is no need to be fancy harmonically, but this will turn out, if you go all the way, will turn out to be difficult to stay on the free notes of the chord. Paradoxically, adding a fourth note in the right hand, for example, C6 and G7, paradoxically will make practically things slightly easier because you have more notes available, and unwanted notes will turn out to be more often correct ones rather than wrong ones. You see the point. Now let's expand a bit more in this principle on 4 more chords. I'm gonna go with chord number 3, number 6, number 2, and number 5. So E will be a major, chord number 3. Notice once again the voicings in the right hand, in the center of the piano for the left hand. The voicing is very close to the previous ones. And the bass once again touches on the tonic and the dominant. Okay. Now I'm going to go to 6, and this time it will be minor. And the chord number 2 will be a major. I'm gonna play this voicing. This is a D7. This voicing is still 3 notes. I know that a D7 is 4 notes, but in this particular case, I want to make it very easy and very accessible to the next one, which is going to be G major. So let's review: E and A minor, D and G. Okay, I'm gonna add my right hand. E major, A minor, how about D major, D7, and G major. Back to the G major in original position. Let's do this slowly. Etc. You can see how just this fundamental structure, very simple and short, is very useful for improvising. So before I conclude, I just want to point out that the second page of Maple Leaf Rag effectively employs exactly the same technique, just in a different key. A flat and E flat 7. And it moves from these two chords. It's exactly the same. So a good way to study this sort of music is to accurate harmonic analysis, look at all these voicings, study them as if they were simple triads, memorize them separately from everything else. You can practice something that I usually do with my students on Ragtime. I encourage my students to practice the left hand in two hands. Or even here. This exercise gives so much mind clarity on the position, the harmony, and the rhythm. If you love what we're doing at the London Contemporary School of Piano, make sure you head onto our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com. You will find a free resource kit that has material from our tutorials and a lot of other cool and musical stuff as well. So I hope this was helpful. I personally really enjoy share these tips and tricks to passionate students, and I will see you the next time.